What's up, guys? Today we have
ADAM GLOWACKI here from Team wnax.
What did you do?
Well, during the weekend for the NAWCQ, I went ahead and played YUBEL FIENDSMITH, and I ended up day one at 118th place. So I was pretty happy with my results out of almost, around 2,600 people?
2,600 people. That is very impressive. I would love to see this deck profile. Show us what you got.
All right, we'll start off with the basics, which is the YUBEL stuff. We are running 2 Spirit of YUBEL, 1 regular YUBEL, and 1 Terra Incarnate from the YUBELs. And the reason I'm just going with these ratios is that the deck is already 45 cards, and I just want to play the bare minimum of what I need. These cards I usually don't want to see in my hand, and I have multiple ways to fetch them. So might as well just keep a bare minimum of what you need.
Would you say this is a standard package?
Yeah, I would say so. If you're playing a hand trap heavy oriented version of the deck, I think that's perfectly fine. If you're playing more gas and engine, then I would run 3 Spirit, 2 regular, and 1 Incarnate.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yep. So after those, we've got some more parts from YUBEL. We've got, of course, the best card in the deck, Nightmare Throne, ×3, and the terraforming that comes along with it.
Why is this the best card in your deck?
This card is a 1-card starter that just gets you your entire deck online. It's actually insane. It gets you the Dark Beckoning Beast engine. It gets you Samsara D Lotus. It can destroy Spirit of YUBEL from the deck and get regular YUBEL out on the field. This card literally does everything. All that and a bag of chips. It's awesome. If I see this card in my opening grip every game and I'm going first, I'm pretty much winning the game.
This is like Bonfire for you.
It's more than Bonfire.
it's Bonfire on crack.
It is. It's great. We love it.
Hell yeah.
Then, going into the next one.
Wait, I got one question for you. How many times do you get drolled after activating terraforming today? Or overall, like, would you say that's...
If I have terraforming in my hand and I think they have droll, depends on what the rest of my hand is, but if they do that, so I'll terraforming add Nightmare Throne, they droll me, I'll use Nightmare Throne and just destroy Spirit directly from my deck to the graveyard, and then I'll summon YUBEL. So at least it still does something for me. The issue is that when you're under droll Nightmare Throne's secondary effects doesn't work because it first adds a card from your deck to your hand, and then you play the card. So you can't use that second effect under droll unless you're getting the corresponding card that you need from your graveyard or banishment instead.
Oh, that's really good to know. Thank you.
Yep. And then other tools from YUBEL, we've got just the 1 Nightmare Pain. This is the best card in the deck, but the issue is the game is very fast. It's usually 1, 2, 3, and it's done. And so you're never going to need more than 1 Nightmare Pain. And thanks to Nightmare Throne, essentially getting Spirit out for free, you're going to have access to Nightmare Pain all the time. That means that we just need to activate Nightmare Prayer once, and then we just go in and win. This card's damage reflection ability just comes up so much, and the ability to pop a Spirit or a regular YUBEL to get Squirmer, alongside with Nightmare Throne, can just get you 3 bodies for free.
It's insane.
It's such a free card. First engine that goes alongside well with this is the Dark Beckoning Beast engine. We are running 2 Dark Beckoning Beasts and 1 Chaos Beast, and the reason we run 2 and 1 is due to the gates. If we open Dark Beckoning Beast, it can add gates, and then gates can add one of the other 2. However, if we open gates, gates can add Dark Beckoning Beast, but Dark Beckoning Beast, if it adds another gates, it's not going to do you anything. So you need to have a second target for Dark Beckoning Beast if you get gates first. So that's what we do with it.
Utilizing this engine, it is a very powerful engine. I mean, this puts like at least like 2 to 3 bodies worth of like links and sees you like your YUBEL stuff recycling also.
Yeah, essentially because they're 0/0 bodies, you can recycle them for Faintsman of YUBELs. They can also turn on gates if you get one of them sent to the graveyard. You can pitch a Spirit of YUBEL or a YUBEL, and then you can summon the same card that you discard for gates. And then gates can also recycle your 1 copy of Nightmare Pain back if it gets destroyed.
I would say this is like one of the most powerful like normal summon engines specifically.
Yeah, out of all the normal summons the deck has access to, Dark Beckoning Beast is definitely the strongest because it goes into your other engines, either your Unchained engine or your Fiendsmith engine, which we'll be getting into shortly. And then other goodies that we have for YUBEL, we've also got the 3 Lotus, which is a starter. This card is just insane because it's essentially Nightmare Throne for a normal summon to get your Spirit out. And then get your Nightmare Pain set, and then you just have your whole hoopla. I never really utilized the end phase effect of Samsara D Lotus. I used to, but thanks to the Fiendsmith engine, it doesn't come up that often where I'm ending on the regular YUBEL on the end board anymore. So it's a bit of a shame, but in matches where that matters will be Tenpai. I didn't face any Tenpai during the weekend. Because against Tenpai, D Lotus lets you change the effects of the monster activating, which can play around Sengen summoning. So thanks to that, if I was playing against Tenpai, I would focus my end boards to do regular YUBEL, Phantom of YUBEL, and Samsara D Lotus, so I can change 2 effect monsters' effects into Destroy a YUBEL, 1 on the field and 1 from the deck.
Wow, it's a lot for 1 card.
It is. D Lotus is awesome. And then let me round out the rest of the YUBEL stuff. We've got 2 Grave Squirmer. A lot of people are playing 1. However, I don't mind it because in game 1, I do want to see him if I can. And there might be in game 1, if there's some back and forth, having the second recursion off the second Grave Squirmer feels fantastic. And then it also makes siding a bit easier where I can just side 1 out for a side deck card. And I saw that happening a lot during the weekend. And I was kind of happy about that because I still had access to the 1 Squirmer where I would need it. And the other one after game 1 where I was like, I want to see him a lot. Now he's like, I'm going to be able to see him, but then he's a flex spot to get an extra side deck card in it.
That's nice. The side deck space is tight in this deck.
Yep, it's tight in this format in general.
True.
The next great engine that we've got is good old Fiendsmith engine. And by old, I mean it's not even a week old.
You got the new heat in here.
We do. And something different that I'm doing than a lot of people are, I'm running 2 tracks.
2 track.
Yes. The reasoning behind that is if you open up Tracked, it just means like if you open Tracked and Fiendsmith, then this Fiendsmith is going to be a bit stuck in your hand, and maybe you do want to get him pitched. Maybe you want to have another Tracked for recursion for the next turn. And I also use a similar logic with the Grave Squirmer, where if I'm going into the next game, I can just get where I want Tracked, and then get myself a side deck card instead. And then I didn't feel that bad. But it was good for consistency for game 1.
That is good.
Yep.
I can't lie, I literally did that too.
Yeah, no,
it's
great.
It is nice.
This engine is just busted, and it's just good in every deck. So I think that kind of evens the playing field for a lot of the decks, just having access to this type of engine.
How did it feel like playing just like a whole new combo deck, like learning it like the week of, or prepping for this up to this event?
So
Can you tell us about that?
I was prepping for this event for like a month and a half. I finally locked down on the type of build that I wanted, and then when we saw the Infinite Forbidden cards and I saw Necroquip and Area Leader, I was a bit frustrated because we had like 3 days or so before the event, and I just did not want to learn new lines and new combos when I've been practicing this for a month and a half. So I just stuck with this, and I didn't bother with the Area Leader or Necroquip. And honestly, I didn't miss them in the extra deck, which we'll get to later.
Okay.
But overall, this engine is super solid. Every deck is great with it. And I'm just glad I opened 3 boxes and got 3 Engraver and was able to trade my 1 Mulch Army for 2 of the tracks. It worked out for me. It worked out for me.
You got in there.
Gamble. You will always win. Final engine. It's my favorite engine because it's just 2 cards.
It's so free.
And it's Abominable Chamber.
And my god.
I do want to say going forward, if you are playing Fiendsmith engine, I might recommend you try just shoving these 2 cards into your deck with it. Just because Sharvara letting you do some silly dodges on some important hand trap choke points. Let's say you go for Sequence and you're using its effect and your opponent's like, okay, I've been waiting for Sequence, I'm going to imperm them. If you have Sharvara in your hand, I know he's a 1-of, but let's say you just do Yama grab Sharvara early, it then forces Sequence to be like, wow, if I pop the Sequence here with the Sharvara when they try to imperm or Valor it, then that means I can also just shuffle the Sequence back in as part of the materials, and that's just kind of funny.
It's like a trap.
Yeah.
It's like you fell into my trap.
Yep, and the Sharvara Fiend Lock doesn't even matter, because if you're running Fiendsmith engine, you're going to run Wave King High, and this is just another 6 to work with Fiendsmith Engraver to go into Wave King High.
That card is insane.
Yep, card's kind of free. So that's what we've got going on for this stuff. And
3 different engines.
Finally, just the 1-for-1. It can summon out Lurie, it can summon Grave Squirmer, it can summon Lotus, and if for some reason you want to, there's Chaos Summoning Beast, but I don't recommend that. Now we're going to move on to the hand traps. We're going to have 2 DD Crow, 3 Effect Veilers, 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Droll, 3 Imperm, 2 Ghost Ogre, and then Call by the Grave. This card was very funny. One round I played, the opponent Mulcharmied me, and I had Called by, and I just went, no, that's fine. If he draws 4 cards, I don't care. So I said, sure, and then he chainlinked 2, Mulcharmy, and I said, okay, if you're gonna draw 8 cards off me, I think I'll Call by now, and I'll just -2 you. And he was very, very surprised. It was great. So remember, you don't have to chainlink your Charmies. You can do Charmy with chainlink 1, and then you let it resolve, and then you can Charmy chainlink 1 again in a new chain, still in the draw phase, and then you'll still let them stack.
And let me ask you this: what round did this guy do this to?
This was in round 9 on day 1. It was the mirror match, and it was round 1. Round 1, I think, or game 1. So yeah, it was kind of goofy, but no, I think it was funny, and I had a fun time with it. I did face Mulcharmy in my round 1. It was against Rescue Ace, Fiendsmith, and he Mulcharmied me game 2, and I let him draw 4 cards. He had 10 cards in his hand, but I had like 12 points of interaction, so it didn't matter.
Wow.
It was very fun. This deck felt very great to pilot. With the hand traps, I think the MVPs would have to be Droll and Lockbird and DD Crow. DD Crow won me like 2 matches. It was actually insane.
Did you ever play Branded at all?
I played against Branded, and both games I had Ash in the opening grip, so it was kind of free.
Nice.
Droll and Lockbird was great against Fiendsmith Snake Eye. I opened it up, I think, 2 or 3 times in the games I played. I played against 4 Fiendsmith Snake Eyes. I went first in 1 game, and then I lost 2 games to them, but then I took 2 games from the other 2. And from those games from the other 2, I had the Droll and Lockbird, and threw them off a lot. So that was really great, because they would go Bonfire Search Ash, and I'm like, Droll, and they're like, aww. Wow. Now you might be wondering, why are you running only 2? Well, these are hand traps that are great. These are hand traps that are better in general situations, and in general situation hand traps, I want to have 3 of. These are good in specific situations, but still generic and good enough to make their own. So I'm running 2 of them because it's like, I don't want to see them all the time, but if I do happen to see them and it's the right matchup, it feels great. Played against Cyverse, and I used Veiler on Splash Mage. They cross-outed it, and I had DD Crow for the target, and he had no more cards, so his turn was over. Activated Engraver, and he gave me the handshake. So that was very nice. And then Ghost Ogre came in clutch, actually, this weekend. Fiendsmith Snake Eye makes Selene early, and so when they use Selene to gain counters, you're like, okay, Selene effect, remove counters. Ghost Ogre pops Selene, they can no longer summon. It's very great. A very fun situation that can happen against some players if they use Selene and they have Diabellstar in the graveyard as their only spellcaster. If you DD Crow that, and they say effect doesn't resolve, then you're like, okay, but if you go into your next turn, if you go into the next turn and they Droll you, you get to call Judge, because this is a spellcaster and Selene has to summon from hand or graveyard. So if they didn't draw into this after using Selene and they just cast this on you, that means they made an illegal play.
That's some next level shit, Adam.
Yep.
Very cool. Fuck yeah. That's did that ever actually happen?
It didn't happen, but it was something that came up in actually testing with my brother, where I did this, and he's like, I have to resolve Selene and summon the Droll from hand. I'm like, that's insane, actually.
Right. And then you like put the scenario together, like, it's probably happened too.
I'm not going to make any accusations.
No, yeah.
No. We don't do that here. Yeah, overall, pretty happy with how the main deck was, and we can just go and move on to the extra deck.
Let's see it.
This extra deck is very tight. I'm going to start out with the obvious contenders here. We've got Phantom of YUBEL ×2. They have separate functions despite being the same card. First Phantom of YUBEL is a Nibiru deterrent, and the second Phantom of YUBEL is an extra body to go into more link climbing. You can make these, it's not once per turn special summon, so you can make them multiple times and it's easy. But you can only activate 1 effect in the turn, and you're only going to use him as a nib deterrent. The other one, you just need to do some link climbing or maybe destroy a card for a Shavara or something. So that's their roles, and I felt pretty comfortable with just 2. A lot of people, or some people, are running 3, but I think the extra deck is too tight to afford it. Next up, we're going to go into the other small engine that we've got going on here, which is Yama with the Soul of Rage from our Unchained package. And these cards are insano. Dark Beckoning Beast alone makes Yama to get Sharvara, and then you got Soul of Rage. The recursion effect of Soul of Rage is very funny. Previously, when I was playing, I would use YUBEL Tribute Soul of Rage, and then I would just set him up in the graveyard, have YUBEL with the Lotus, so he was really good for that. But now when I do these 2, I go into an Apollosa with 2 mats, and that feels good because you just want him in the graveyard and you want Yama to get something back. Usually with a Sharvara popping something, then this can bring back. Like, let's say you summon the Sharvara, you can just use Yama to bring a free Fiendsmith, then you can go into a Wave King High. It's when you're committing 2 cards to your extra and 2 cards to your main deck to get such an explosive power play with the SP Soul of Rage Chamber play. Yeah. You're getting rid of 2 to 3 cards off of just 4 cards committed to your deck. It's awesome.
A crazy tutor.
Yeah. And then we've got Wave King High. This card, it's just, oh my goodness.
That's Preston's worst nightmare.
This card's just so free, and the fact that every deck can just make this now thanks to Fiendsmith, I think is an actual problem. This card is very strong in a setting where a lot of cards are special summoning, so you just get to negate them for free. I don't know how to feel about it, but I think it's a very strong card. If you're playing a Fiendsmith engine, you're definitely putting him in just because it's free.
Did you make that a lot today?
I did, and I had an end board that was very crazy, which was a 3-mat Apo, the Wave King, a Varudris, and a Phantom. And that's how I beat the 10-card hand Rescue Ace Fiendsmith, because Caesar got to negate Impulse, and Caesar got to negate not 1-for-1, the Emergency, I believe. So Wave King is kind of just free in every deck you're playing against.
Yeah, you can use it more than once per turn.
Yep, it's twice essentially with 2 materials. But if there are some cards that can recycle cards for Exceed materials onto it, so you could potentially get 3 and 4 uses out of it if you play a heavy Exceed-centric deck. I would recommend in Goblin Bikers just because they already have Fiends. And they have Exceed recycling abilities with the Exceed Armor package. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're focusing on this deck. Let's talk about the obvious one in the room. We've got Fiendsmith package. You don't need Desiree, but Desiree does feel good to end on if you fear cards like Droplet or Dark Ruler or Evenly Matched. And I mentioned those 2 cards prior, specifically because, you can't use Desiree to respond to that. But we're usually ending on Chamber, so we can just chain Chamber to one of those cards, and then Desiree can chain link afterwards, because you just can't directly chain link into Dark Ruler or Droplet. Depending if they didn't discard a trap card as well, the Chamber would then be live. But then Desiree can negate those face-up cards on the field, so that way you don't get your board negated. Feels great, especially against Evenly Matched. When they try to do that to you, you can Desiree to make the Evenly Matched whiff, if it happens.
Very nice.
Yep, and then for the other cards, these cards are just free. Lacrima is a burn card. I don't like that they made such an easy access time card. I won a few games off of this, and the games are just so long these days in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because so many decks are able to do so many things at a time. And I got ended by Lacrima as well, and we were playing very fast. I didn't have any slow players at all today, so it was great.
That's good for you.
Sequence is a big choke point, just letting you know. So if you hit Sequence, you can end a lot of stuff early or force them into awkward positions. I started doing that in the tournament, and that felt pretty great, hitting Sequence with Imperm or Veiler. This card's goofy. I don't like that it's a quick effect. It being a quick effect is silly because I don't like that you can just dodge Imperm Veiler naturally with this. I wish that it was a choke point, but it's just not. It's just Ash Blossom or Bust. And then this is goofy. Put it in Rarity Bonanza and just give her the quarters entry she deserves to go alongside with Goddess of the Underworld.
Pretty much.
Yup. And then we got Apollosa, SP, Beatrice as obvious contenders from the extra deck. Apo is free to make at any point in time. SP Little Knight is your Soul of Rage summon, and this just means that Chamber turns into remove 3 cards. SP's insane.
Wow.
And Beatrice finally, it's Sometimes we want a different part of our deck to access. Beatrice lets us do that. She gets us. I dumped Squirmer. It forced a Bestial. I wish I kept that Squirmer in the grave, but it gave me access. It would have given me access to Spirit. Games 2 and 3 in the side deck, we have some great Beatrice targets as well, and I'll get to those in a second once we get there. But this card feels clean. And then the last two for this deck is the Muckraker and the Verudris. Verudris I made a few times, and it was very impactful. And Muckraker came up in the mirror match in round 9 where he's using Terran Incarnate to blow up the board, and the judge said Muckraker doesn't protect because it's also included, and then I appealed, which is important. If you think you're right, just appeal for the assistant head judge. Assistant head judge came over and said Muckraker is not worded like Hugin, which otherwise wouldn't work. Muckraker says monsters, that would include self. So Muckraker can then sack to protect the rest of the board. Fantastic.
Nice.
Great in the mirror match. So don't side this out for potential extra deck side card that we have in here. In the mirror match.
Extra deck side, did I
We
hear?
do, and I will say it's a little annoying that I have to use the regular side deck cards because it means I have to take cards out of the sleeves constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Not really happy about that policy. I'll be blunt about that.
Oh, yeah.
But let's look at the side deck and the silliness that goes on in here.
Let's see how we wrap it
So
up.
first one, Nightmare Griffin. Nightmare Griffin comes with a few bonus cards alongside him. Nightmare Griffin's best friends are Black Goat. It's funny if you Beatrice and Black Goat, if you do want to get that other effect of it, you can just bring Black Goat back and set it for the next turn. So if you want to use that first effect, but otherwise I do like to just use the second effect to prevent monster effect from activating. It's matchup dependent really, but I digress. The next card, which is another Beatrice pitch, is the Rise to Full Height. Hey, maybe that first effect comes in handy, but otherwise, if I had played against Tenpai, it's Beatrice pitch this. Rise to Full Height's just free against it because you target Phantom of Yubel all the time, and Phantom of Yubel will be tributing itself for whenever a monster effect activates, or even if they impermit. Cool, I'm still going to use the effect to cost tribute, and I'll not get the effects, but then Rise to Full Height, you don't get to attack me for the turn. That's super important. And this is actually Nightmare Griffin's best friend, Anti-Spell Fragrance. So if you are going first and you make Beatrice, you want to dump Anti-Spell, and then you want to get into Nightmare Griffin, who will reset your Anti-Spell.
Very nice.
It's so gross. I
Really
did get
auto-win
to
against some games?
It auto-won me a game. I did this. It was fantastic. Yeah, there's not much you can do about that if that happens, because you've got Nightmare Griffin usually chilling in the middle column zone here, with Apo up here, and then two friends that he can trigger. You'll get the draw after you discard to just reset this card. It's so free. It's great. Love this dumb bird. So that's that. And then we've got Triple Tactics. This card's really good. I just didn't feel comfortable main decking it, just because it's like this deck can beat through a lot of hand traps, and I'd rather just see more engine than like, oh, I could look at your hand, or I can try and draw into more cards. I would rather, if they're even going to hand trap me at all. Sometimes you might just open all gas and then it's not even live. Feels bad if it's a dead card. So in the matchups where I'm going first and they're siding in, I know they'll have more hand traps, then I'll just put the tactics in. Or if I know they're going to end on a heavy monster board and I'm not wanting to commit as much hand traps, but I want to do disruption instead, I'll put in the tactics for going second. And the other friend for going second is Metaltronus. Metaltronus is so cool. I got to only resolve it once.
What is this card?
So, if your opponent controls a monster, and you have a monster of the same attribute, typing, and or attack stat, you have to match two of them. You can summon a monster from your extra deck or your main deck onto the field, negate that both monsters' effects, and if they both share the same name, you can banish both of them face down. This came up when I was playing against Snake Eyes Fiendsmith, and they were bricked up on Fiendsmith cards and didn't have access to Snake Eyes, so they were going to Beatrice dump. I chain Metaltronus, summon my Beatrice, and what I should have done was banish both of our Beatrices, but I just kept mine around because I was like, well, I can deal with his Beatrice, and then I can just keep mine up on board for attack punching, but didn't work out. Should have banished them both. That's okay though. That's what we play for. We learn. Meltronis, though, I think it feels great if you're playing against a lot of, like, if a lot of Fiendsmith is going to be showing up, I think this is a great card.
Very cool.
You cannot target Desiree if it is equipped with the sequence, unfortunately, and that would be a really solid target to do. But overall, Beatrice is a big target. Apollosa is a big target. If you want it to be cute, you can do Meltronis Apo. Summon your Apo. Don't banish their Apo, and then you can just link off your Apollosa for Zelantis, and you just get a free Zelantis before your summon. So you can use Zelantis to set their opponent's monsters or force hand traps before your normal summon with Meltronis. It's great.
Sheesh. You can just smack over their Apo too.
Their Appaloosa, I think their stat line goes down because its effects is negated. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know on that. Going for, well, and this is a flexible card, right? Cosmic. We love it. We hate it. This would have been more prominent if I thought Runic decks. I didn't, but Cosmic did come up where I think they set, yeah, the Diabell Star set the one, the OSS, and then I just had the Cosmic set. So that's where it came up really handy today. I would have liked to see it when I got skill drained, but unfortunately it just didn't show up in the hand.
That's how it goes.
Yep. And then finally, my favorite going first side deck card.
Oh, yeah. Taking it back to the
Judgments.
playground with this one.
I actually won a match and I resolved 2 judgments in that game. No, I didn't win the match. I won the game, but it was still kind of funny.
Double Judgment.
Double Judgment. They came clutch. I negated the normal summon of Snake Eyes Oak and it threw them for a bit of a loop. And then I also negated the normal summon of Snake Eyes Ash, and they had no other resources at the time. So
We passed.
it slowed down the game a bit, and it was kind of cool. I liked it.
So overall thoughts on the deck and the experience?
So this deck, I feel like, depending on your opening hand, it just feels like instead of that opening hand, you have access to your full deck. And that's just kind of insane, but that's kind of where we're at with the Yu-Gi-Oh right now, isn't it? That's
Pretty
like
much.
the experience where I draw my 5, they draw their 5, who won the die roll, and then can your 5 beat my 5? Otherwise, I get more than 5. I got 45. So that's how it goes. That's my thoughts on the format. It's open it and win the die roll, or lose the die roll, but then open a hand that beats their hand.
Wow.
You can learn all you want with your deck. You can study the matchups. At the end of the day, it's the variables you can't control that will definitely shift the games individually in whoever's favor based on the variables.
Very true. Well, thank you for that insight. And do you have any shout outs?
Shout out to my brother. Congrats for doing top 32. Proud of you.
Let's go, Alex.
Let's go, Alex.
55th place with 10-5.
Yeah.
The man is a goat.
Well, 55th after Swiss.
Yeah, he got top 32.
He got top 32.
That is right. Yeah, he made the 55th and then top 32.
Yep, he did. Unfortunately, X and 4 after round 11, so I dropped, but I was still happy with my journey for that. And then other shout outs, Team wnax family. We love to see them. Everybody that came out to play and support each other. It was super fun, a great experience. So thank you so much for that, and thanks for the opportunity to showcase the deck.
Yeah, no problem. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Thanks, Adam.